The release of the Kuriga school children is a result of collaboration between the federal government and state governments. President Bola Tinubu has commended the dispatch and diligence with which the situation was handled. He acknowledged the incipient urgency, meticulous attention, and tireless dedication which was critical to getting the desired outcome. President Bola Tinubu has assured that his administration is deploying detailed strategies to ensuring that schools remain safe sanctuaries of learning and not a hotbed for abductions. Well, joining me live in the studio to give a fresh perspective to the rescue of the school children and the federal government's efforts in this regard is the Special Advisor to President Bola Tinubu on Media and Publicity, Chief Ajuri Ngelale. Welcome to the program, sir.
Always a privilege to be with you.
Well, everyone is glad that the Kuriga school children have been released, and we have seen a statement from Governor Obasanjo of Kaduna State, particularly thanking President Bola Tinubu and his efforts. Give us a sense of the kind of intervention made by President Bola Tinubu to effect this release.
His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a man who leaves no stone unturned in every endeavor that he pursues. This was no different. It is needless to say that the safety and security of every Nigerian citizen is the topmost priority of this president. And as such, it is no surprise that we saw swift and effective operation conducted by members of our intelligence services, armed services, under the leadership of this Commander-in-Chief to ensure that we are able to ensure the release of the school children abducted in Kuriga. And I think what's also pertinent to mention, Femi, is that as much as, we like to refer to these matters in general terms, right, quite vaguely without a lot of specificity, I think it's important to note that the return of the Kuriga school children was not done in isolation, that indeed there was, several other rescue operations which were conducted that saw to the return of school children that were taken from Sangaya School from a Sangaya school in Sokoto State, as well as some innocent Nigerians who were taken hostage in Yobe, for example, in Gusau to be in particular. That's Zamfara, not Yobe. So we have seen several different missions being well executed. And this is as a result of not just effective strategy, but diligent execution on that strategy. And that is why His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is able to really look upon his team with some level of pride and satisfaction. Not the kind of satisfaction that makes you to rest or relax, but the kind of satisfaction that says, well done, but we need to dig deeper, we need to work harder, and we need to make sure that every innocent Nigerian that's still in captivity is safely released and returned to their families. And that is the position and the priority of President Bola Tinubu. Now, with that said, I think it is extremely important to note that in as much as we all know that Mr. President is a workaholic, and as much as we all know that Mr. President stays up late and wakes up very early attending to these matters, he also, of course, demonstrated the wisdom he has always demonstrated with respect to ensuring that he has the right personnel in place to deal with, specific, issues and objectives of concern to him. And this is why, obviously, the work that was done by the National Security Advisor in the person of Malam Nuhu Ribadu was very essential. Obviously, when you have an NSA that's focused on making sure that the intelligence services and all branches of the armed forces are effectively coordinating themselves, in addition to the police force, making sure everybody is at the table, they're effectively coordinating, they're effectively not just gathering the intelligence, but making sure they're sharing the intelligence in such a way that our forces are able to swiftly intervene where they need to intervene. I think the office of the NSA, should be commended for that. But there's really still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we're focused on that, and that's what the priority of the president will be as we move forward.
Yeah, a lot of these abductions, a lot of them happened within the space of 1 week. And it raised so many questions. A lot of people casting aspersions at the capacity of our armed forces to protect the sovereignty of the country and also lives and property in the country. But yes, we're glad that those abducted have now been released, and with the president's clear directives asking them to leave no stone unturned. But how would this directive of the president resonate moving forward? People are still worried that, yes, these people have been released, but we might likely see more abductions.
Well, this is why, it is the belief and operational ethos of this commander-in-chief that prevention is better than cure. He is focused on ensuring that we are making the investments we need to make, not just in terms of recruitment, but also in terms of, channeling resources to the massive and substantial upgradation of the equipment and technology being deployed by the armed services and the intelligence agencies. These are all things that, sometimes we tend to look at budgets and we tend to just look at them as, just another budget line or just another form of expenditure. No, these are pieces to a larger puzzle that the commander-in-chief is looking at and saying, look, if we don't get this in place today, then, tomorrow we're going to be at risk. And that's why he's always focused on making sure that he's one step ahead of the curve. He's always played his politics that way. He's always administered the public service that way. And he's going to continue to operate that way as commander-in-chief, making sure that he thinks ahead of the problems and puts the solutions ahead of those times when those problems can occur. Now, obviously, when you are digging out of a deficit, and we're talking about a decades-long deficit that does not belong to any one prior administration, it's going to take time before you're able to kind of dig out of all of the deficits and make sure that you're able to effectively forestall every future threat. But that is certainly the process and pathway that this president is on.
Just like the abduction of Chibok girls in 2014, this particular abduction also got global attention. And we also gathered that some foreign countries offered to help Nigeria secure the release of these girls. Did we get that support in releasing these Kuriga school children?
Well, you would recall with me, Femi, that during that time, in 2014, when all of that was unfolding, and then, of course, in the years thereafter, we saw so much, not just domestic, naturally and rightly, but international media attention. You had, really kind of global power players speaking on the Chibok issue and all of that. It was probably a little bit surprising that in recent years there hasn't been as much attention paid globally to the issue as it was then. But I would say this, it would be very difficult to think back on a time when we had seen this level of consistency by any one administration with respect to an urgent and meticulous execution on a strategy to rescue abducted citizens in our country. I think we are now almost kind of becoming accustomed, which is, I guess, a good thing because it means the standard is being raised in the country. But under this president, I think people are now kind of taking it for granted, more or less, that something wrong can go on, whether it's economic or whether it's, administrative or even sometimes even with political bottlenecks, right? And this is a president who swiftly steps in, creates a resolution that lasts. Nigerians should expect that on the issue of mass abductions, that indeed the president is thinking ahead of the problem and he is putting in place futuristic, future-proof solutions to ensure that this does not become a part of our future in as much as it has been a part of our past. And he's going to continue to take that level of detail orientation into everything he's involved with moving forward on behalf of our citizens.
Okay, yeah. Also recently there was these reports on the terrorism financiers exposing, naming and shaming them. We have seen all of their names splashed in major dailies in the news and all of that. How is this helping change the security situation in Nigeria? What far-reaching effects is this having?
Well, see, and this is where political will becomes very important. And this is not to besmirch any previous commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but frankly, people operate with different tactics and different methods. I think this is a president who, throughout his entire career in the public sector, has proven that he's ready to open things up. He's ready to automate systems that were bureaucratically faulty. I mean, he's ready to take necessary decisions to check, corrupt tendencies as well as, anti-national tendencies as they come up. And I think this is another example. Nigerians would rightly ask the question why it's taken decades for a Nigerian leader to come out and openly name and shame sponsors of terrorism. We've known that terrorism has affected our country for a number of years now. Why that is now becoming something new, I think they can ask that question. But I think what's important is that President Bola Tinubu is the president that is doing it, and we believe that there is a clear nexus between his effort to open up the Pandora's box with respect to those who have been troubling the country and troubling our people, and then obviously the willingness of some of these groups to be able to kind of surrender to the pressure that's being placed on them.
Okay, let's quickly talk the economy now. Talk about issues in the economy. It seems some of the reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu are beginning to strike the right chords in the economy, but not everyone has acknowledged that. We have seen news coming out of the central bank about backlogs being cleared and all of that. And even you held a press conference where you said the presidency wants Nigerians to support all of these reforms, support the initiative of government to grow local industries and all of that. But are these really some achievements that really has trickled down and are beginning to change lives of Nigerians?
You know, Femi, this is a very important question. I think the tendency had always been that we see government and government officials and the apparatus of state as some sort of mechanism that's operating up there in the clouds while our people are somehow, on the street operating, conducting their businesses and their activities kind of separate from a world where government officials are operating. We are saying that those days are over. We need to join hands. We need all of our people to understand that even the best, most well-considered and the most well-thought-out policies and measures being put in place by President Bola Tinubu will not have the net effect we expect if we don't have the full buy-in of Nigerians. And the economy is a major, part of kind of this logical path where this really bears out. I'm going to be very, detailed about this. If you look at what Mr. President has done with respect to obviously, cracking down on certain cryptocurrency trading platforms that had obviously contributed massively to the artificial, devaluation of the Nigerian naira, as well as obviously the interventions he's made in the parallel market, making sure that we remove as many sharp practices from that market as possible with the interventions of the NFIU, of the EFCC, the ICPC, and our intelligence services, then you would also know that the president has, hand in hand with all of that, just literally mustered, coins, dollars and cents together to be able to pay out $7 billion worth of backlog left by Godwin Emefiele in the Central Bank of Nigeria at a time when revenues were hard to come by, reserves were depleted, at a time when things were really difficult. He's been able to achieve all that. What that now does is it creates a fiscal space with which we can now operate and make interventions to ensure that we bring long-term stability to the Nigerian naira against global currencies. That is all of just I think a fraction of what Mr. President has done to bring stability to the naira, which is why it has steadily risen in strength from 1,900 plus to $1 to now 1,400 plus to $1. And we expect more strengthening to come in the months ahead. But the point I made in that press conference and the point that President Bola Tinubu is making to all Nigerians is to say, join hands with us, join hands with this president, because he can make all the interventions that he's going to make. If Nigerians are not aligned with him in specifically and in an intentional manner, deciding with their rights of purchase to say, we are going to spend our money on made in Nigeria food products, on made in Nigeria clothing, on made in Nigeria, manufactured goods. If we don't make those conscious decisions, even if it comes at a little bit of an expense in terms of maybe what we're used to or changing habits a little bit here and there, let's do that, because as the president is making hundreds of billions of naira worth of interventions for small, micro, small and medium scale enterprises as well as large industry in the country, all of that is not going to have the effect that it should have if Nigerians are not bringing their money to the table, patronizing these goods, and ultimately strengthening the currency to our collective benefit. Every Nigerian, whether it's the civil servant or the hustler on the street or the teacher or even the high-level businessman, every Nigerian wants their spending power to go up. The way that we make that happen is to collaborate with the president by intentionally ensuring that in every given point in time when we're making a purchasing decision, we decide to support Nigerian business businesses and Nigerian goods. That is how we will strengthen our naira. That is how we will double the impact of President Bola Tinubu's interventions in the foreign exchange market, as well as with strengthening the naira and supporting our businesses. And this is really the appeal that we are making to Nigerians. Support Nigerians. Support other citizens, support Nigerian businesses. That way you'll be supporting yourself, supporting your spending power going up, supporting the currency, and obviously all of us will be better off for it.
All right. Thank you so much, Chief Ajuri Ngelale, Special Advisor to President Bola Tinubu on media and publicity. Well,